term by the name because we need to look at the content. That's for me. Because even like Islam, I have one client, she is Muslim. And she told me one thing, so I thought about that for a long time. Because she said that one of the principles from the Muslim is you can't impose your value, your belief to other people. And yeah, it's totally different from what I see from the media, from all the publication. So I thought about that a lot. And another thing is I went to a few sessions is done by a father from the Catholic Church to talk about Quran, and which is totally different from what we know. So I think if we can, the key things that we want to resolve the complex, the diversity problems, it's not just from kill anyone else. We need to go to detail to have a dialogue, understand where it's really coming from. And if we know where it's really coming from, we know how to prevent the problems. For me, from my culture, from my coming from, I feel Australian. First thing I want to say, I'm Australian. And I'm Australian Taiwanese. And I feel it's a lot of things that we doesn't have a long enough history, culture for us to really work out what is that. And we are suddenly, so quickly, so many nations live together, and the diversity of the culture create the complexity, and I think maybe we hasn't had the time to really work out, what does that mean for us in here. And for my personal journey, I'm the Taiwanese Chinese, come to here, living here, I have to work out because otherwise I couldn't survive here. I experienced the people try to find the problem for me, and instead of fighting back, I have to understand where they're coming from and to resolve the conflict. And I learned a lot from that situation. I learned a lot to living here because I have to change myself. I have to expand my perspective to see who I am. And living here 20 years so far, it's helped me to understand myself more and understand this land more. Not just the Anglo culture and the all the different nations. So living here is different from I travel here for 1 year. At first year I come here, first I came here, it's so wonderful, it's so good. But when I moved here, totally different. I have to work out and yeah. So I don't have the questions, but I really want to voice out. For the campaign you're doing that, I'm so scared to talk about that. I support you because it's not political. It's not political either. It's not religious. I think the people have the agenda. You hit their agenda, obviously they want to kill you. You know what I mean?
Just to Sergio.
Yeah.
No, okay, thank you.
I don't know. I just have to say something.
Yes, Sergio. I think that was clear. And the next question will be the last question.
I want to ask a question.
Yeah, I know you do. I'm aware of that, and you'll have the last question.
Can I have a quick one?
None.
David, can I throw in a quick one?
No.
Oh, give me a break.
We're running out of time.
It's only for Mr. Weiss.
That statement, I mean, it's heartfelt, and the beautiful thing about what you're saying is and because I relate to you as an Australian, and so that's where I find myself in conflict with other mates of mine, like Nick, who's actually married to a beautiful Japanese woman and has mixed children. So when Nick talks about certain things, it's actually very different to his love to his children who are mixed. And your children are the mix of being what the next generation of Australian is. And you are right, in the last 25 years we've had an onslaught of different groups that have no longer had the benefit of assimilation and integration. They've had the destructive policy of multiculturalism, allowing foreign cultures to grow in numbers and not believe in what we are as Australians, and coming down to even your own confusion of becoming an Australian and who we are. And, you know, the main thing is that your children will have less confusion. And hopefully your children won't be going to my friend's school that's all Anglo-Saxon and not and leaving out the Australian flag, where it comes down to that, you know, protocol in our education system with the Australian flag should not be like, the flag shouldn't be seen as a negative and it shouldn't be left out. So there's all these questions about why people do certain things that we have to keep discussing, because we're not perfect. We've just got to analyse everything that we do and keep evolving of what we are. And then Nick's point of view of Anglo-Saxon history, I'm proud, like I'm Italian, but I identify myself as
Sergio,
Anglo-Saxon.
You're missing my point, because I've seen, being married for 20 odd years, what Asianisation has done to Australia, and 23 years being married, it's not looking positive. So I've changed my mind. I've supported multiculturalism before. I thought it was a beautiful thing because I didn't understand it. But 23 years down the road, I despise it. And I don't want Australia to become an Asian country. And that's not a racist point of view. It's just that I've learnt over time that Australia is going in the wrong direction, and I don't want to see a civil war.
Yeah, but that's multiculturalism. But the other side of it is, I think love will always conquer everything.
Multiracialism and multiculturalism are the same thing.
Okay, the last question, and that's you. Make it, go on. Make it quick, we're running out of time. That's it.
I'm really not a self-hater at all. Can you hear me? I don't hear you.
Yes, we can.
I'm a Quaker, and I put it up to your mouth. All right. Yeah, I'm a Quaker, and we have a value which we live by, which is we look for that of God in other people. And I find that of God in Muslims, and I find that of God in Buddhists, and I find that of God in Christians. But the thing is, George Fox has a saying which I really like. George Fox is the founder of Quakerism, or the Society of Friends, which we call ourselves. Walk cheerfully over the earth, seeking to find and answer that of God in everyone. And that way you're open to the good in people, and you don't judge them. And I don't think I would judge Muslims at all. I've had the most beautiful friendships with Muslims, and they're lovely people. And I really appreciate
They're the best
What's the
terrorists.
question?
They're the best terrorists.
my question is whether anyone agrees with me that if you look for the good in people, that of God in them, that would solve a lot of our problems.
Yeah.
And I would like
What happens to be done time? Yeah, off to Syria you go. See how you go.
Well, yeah, I appreciate your question. Thank you. I agree. I think that whatever we call God, divine, the something beyond the soul, is there in everyone. And that means that we can find within our heart, if we're coming from our heart, and as Sergio just pointed out, that comment was very heartfelt. There's a truth there. To me, that's where the real truth is in our hearts. And if we look from our heart to another heart, we're likely to see that divine presence, whatever name we give it. And to me, that, you know, as someone said, love overcomes all in the end. So that's my position. So thank you for the question.
Now, I know you desperately love the Round Table Forum, and I know that you desperately don't want to go home, and that's wonderful, but unfortunately all good things come to an end, and to present the vote of thanks to our panel of 4 speakers, I would like to invite Dr. Jim Sternhill, a member of the Executive of Western Heritage, to present the vote of thanks. Thank you.
We've certainly had a diverse range of opinions tonight. We don't always get that. We're actually really blessed. Not only we had 4 great speakers, but we also have what could only be called pioneers in the struggle for preserving our national identity. So Reverend Keith Piper in particular, I'm familiar with his work in exposing the inadequacies of the Quran, and he does some absolutely great work. And we also have 3 true heroes to Australia the faceless group who are on the panel and in the audience. I think these three should stand up and take a bow and a really good applause for what can only be called heroes for our culture. That's right, the Burkett Three. Yeah, one of the best stunts which made it around the world. And that, of course, is a lesson to all of us that we need to be active. Because just a few cleverly thought out stunts is enough to show the world just how self-hating we actually are. Those inequalities where, you know, you can have a Birkin go in, oh, I've got the bicycle helmet, no, he can't. And that was a very poignant thing. It made it around the world. And each of us in this room is quite capable of exercising our initiative in that sort of thing. So, yeah, take a leaf from their page. I mean, they're just ordinary guys doing magnificent work. But, yeah, the formal end now is the formal thanks for our great diversity of speakers for tonight. And we should thank them for their very stimulating intellectual stimulus.